Hi guys, welcome to Career and Corporate Hub. As I mentioned before, the introduction is very awkward. Anyway, I'm not alone. I'm with Eleanor from the, let me not even mention, she's going to introduce herself. Eleanor, welcome to Career and Corporate Hub.
Thank you very much, Kodani, and good to meet you.
Yes.
So my name is Eleanor van den Berg-McGregor.
Yes.
Born and bred in the Eastern Cape, and I'm currently responsible for biodiversity and conservation, nature conservation in the Eastern Cape.
Yes. Just listening at the nature conversation, what is the importance of that position?
Nature conservation is exceptionally important. If I can maybe explain it simplistically. Everything that you are currently wearing. Your glasses, your jacket, your pods in your ears, your watch, everything that you eat, everything that you use to clean yourself with, everything that you use to get from point A to point B, whether it's a bus, an aeroplane, your car, all those resources comes from this earth. So if we don't look after the earth and use it in a sustainable manner, we will eventually run out of things. So the importance of nature conservation is one, because it's the right thing to do from a moral perspective, but two, for our survival. We cannot all of us pick up and go tomorrow and go live on Saturn. So it's like your home. Look after the one home that you've been given. Keep it clean, use it sustainably, protect it. That's in a nutshell what nature conservation is about.
I actually, I want to start with your background from undergraduate, but I don't want to lose this question. So I actually look at nature or environment with AI, artificial intelligence. The way environmental has evolved is like how artificial intelligence is evolving. Look at like everything that we're using is recyclable. Yes, like your straws, your cups, like everything. I believe that's like really the future.
That is where we are going. Because from our collective consciousness as a human race, whether we all realize it or not, that simple message I gave out to say, guys, we've got one home. It's planet Earth.
It is.
So unless we start using our intellect, our developmental capabilities, our technological capabilities to help us live sustainably, we will end up going the Armageddon movies way, where things just becomes terrible. There's no food. We're all fighting for water. We're all fighting for food. We're fighting for resources. So at some collective level, we are starting to realize we are growing. We are learning about technology, but instead of using it to be exploitative the whole time, exploitive, I don't know what that word is, but exploitative, using too much the whole time, we are saying let's rather use that technology to be sustainable. And I'll use that example that you gave. We have an option. Use a plastic straw that's going to end up in the ocean. Some poor little animal who was going to have how many offspring that we could eat. Just saying it honestly, that cycle of life won't continue, because those animals would get, strangled by the straw. They'll ingest it. It will mess up their intestines. But now we are saying no. Let's use and make biodegradable straws. So people will say, it's just a straw, but it's not just a straw. Because if you take all the plastic straws and you think about where they all end up when they don't get recycled, the impact on a fish species that a community elsewhere uses can have a major impact on the existence of those people, their kids. And let's not forget, Earth is not like a map in reality, where you can draw a boundary and say, this is South Africa, that is Australia. No, everything is interconnected. What you do in one place has an impact on another place. So this collective consciousness also needs to develop into collective responsibility and accountability.
I actually like, when you make the fish example Honestly, I'm still one of the people who I'm guilty of saying the paper or biodegradable straws are so irritating. I know we're going to get used to them, but now when you talk about think of what the plastic ones do at the end, I'm like now thinking, actually, if we continue using these things that are not biodegradable, thinking of the lifespan of like the fish, they won't multiply because now we are killing them with what we are consuming or what we are using. Yeah,
we are being exceptionally irresponsible as the species that we are the top species on the earth. Yes. We've been given dominion over all the other species. Yes. So with power and authority comes responsibility. Yes. So when you say it's irritating, yes, it's irritating now. Our technology is not that great yet, but there are others, unlike you and I now, who are actually working in a lab every day, trying to improve on the quality of those straws. So if everybody starts to play their little bit and pull together, I believe
play a big role.
I believe that we won't be saving the earth for the sake of saving the earth. We will substantially be improving the quality of our lives. Because remember, those plastic straws, they've got lots of things in them, chemicals.
They do.
Little children suck on it.
Actually,
they suck on it for 90 years. I don't want to go down that road. But plastics, it's not good for the environment, but it's also not good for us as human beings. Yeah. So when we learn about things that's more responsible for the earth, indirectly it's actually being more responsible to ourselves, towards ourselves. And don't forget, it's the reason why I said we are the key or top species on the earth. We are also biological creatures. So chemicals and toxins, it affects us.
Yeah, true. So, and we're actually not thinking about our health when we, using the plastic straws. And now let's start from the beginning. So you said you're from Eastern Cape. What did you do for your undergraduate qualification?
So my undergraduate qualification is a nature conservation diploma. Okay. I did it through, they used to be called Port Elizabeth Technikon.
Which is
now, but now it's Nelson Mandela Bay, or rather Nelson Mandela University. That's what it is now. I grew up in what used to be called Port Elizabeth. It's now Gqeberha. And there's nature there. Let me put it like that. So I was exposed to nature from a young age. We lived in a suburb with houses, but we were the last row of houses in the suburb. So I used to be very naughty. My mother used to tell me, you can't climb over the fence and go up on the hill by yourself. And I used to build a little ramp for my dog, and then we would climb over, and I would spend the whole afternoon in nature, picking up things, smelling things. And so I think that's what kind of cultivated that I would eventually ending up in a career that is environmentally friendly, wanted to protect the earth. So I have a very strong affinity to it.
Okay. And do all universities offer nature conservation?
So people would have to look at it, but the ones I'm aware of would be your University of Pretoria. The Technikon part of it, because remember they took a lot of Technikons and merged them with universities. So it will be the same institution now. So if you study nature conservation through what used to be PE Tech now, you will get a qualification from Nelson Mandela University. So I'm going to mention the universities because at this stage one would think that if you look at what the university offers, then this qualification would come up. So that would be University of the Western Cape. It would be University of KwaZulu-Natal. It would be University of Pretoria. It would be Nelson Mandela University. Those are the ones I'm aware of. But with Google and technology,
you can find more if you would like to pursue the career in nature conservation. Am I saying it right?
Conservation.
I'm saying conversation. Conservation.
Yeah.
Yes. I actually didn't know about it until I interviewed one of the ladies who did agricultural.
Yeah.
And she said she wanted, her first choice was nature conservation.
Yeah.
Yes. So you did say from an early age you really loved nature. For somebody who would like to follow the same footsteps, what is there a demand?
Yes, if you think about what's happening globally, but let me go one step back quickly. Let me just quickly go back one step.
Yeah.
So there are many ways to become a nature conservator, or an environmental manager, or an environmental scientist. They all are interwoven. So you can start off either by doing a nature conservation diploma and then converting it to a degree and going up as high as you want to, or you can start with doing a BSc in science and then specializing in environmental science. You can do zoology, botany, ichthyology, which links to fish and things. You can become a wetland specialist, a plant specialist, an animal specialist. So the field is very broad, and why I'm saying that is it allows you to go from pure science all the way through to operations like managing a nature reserve, all the way through to becoming a manager of scientists or people who do environmental impact assessments. So the qualification that you do when you go onto the university website, look at nature conservation diploma. What are the typical job streams you can end up when you study that? Okay, what Bachelor of Science, environmental science, zoology, etc. What are the subjects that you need? I'll tell you a little bit about that now. And what are the typical areas that you end up in if you just stay there when you study that? Because they do give you a little bit of an idea, but in reality, you can cross those ones. You can cross them nicely, and that is what's nice about this discipline, because all those qualifications gives you the baseline of what nature conservation or environmental management is, and then depending on your appetite, you then start adding this honors degree, adding that master's degree, to navigate yourself through life to wherever you want to end up.
Yeah, true. Actually, like, when choosing a career, you must have a bigger picture thinking. Don't just think of, okay, I'm going to do nature conservation and that's where I'm going to end up. But if you have a bigger picture thinking, do a lot of research on where what you can work with is very important, and also be inquisitive to people who've gone through the same path to get that information. I think it's important.
Yes, maybe to share, sometimes people think that becoming a nature conservator means that you're working just in nature. But remember, humans live in nature. There are people around nature reserves. So it is important in most disciplines now, including nature conservation, that you have to develop your people skills. You have to develop your listening skills. You have to develop your communication skills. Very important, because a nature reserve, it's the easiest example to use, or a laboratory where you're doing research. It's not an island. It is connected to other things. And why I share that with you is because a lot of people who go into nature conservation say, we want to protect the environment and we don't like people. Like, you will spend a lot of time engaging people.
And we were talking about recycling. I mean, you need to change people's mindsets to have that mindset of recycling, why we have to do it. So definitely,
because
I like
part of it is environmental education. You see, that's an integral part of it. Part of it sometimes is law enforcement. That's not the nice part, but it becomes part of it. Law enforcement is basically for someone like you, who now, we've given you a permit to catch 10 fish. But you insist on catching 100 fish. But the reason why we give you the permit for 10 fish is because of sustainability, for the greater good.
I know when you're fishing you require a license. didn't know until my husband got a fishing rod and then he had to apply for a license. I was like, oh, okay, that's different. Yeah.
Okay, so let me give you the high level of the legs of nature conservation or environmental management or environmental protection. Okay, so the easy one and the most common one that people know is a nature reserve or a park or a national park. Okay, that is the one where you go and people look after the plants and the animals. They actually look after themselves. You must fix the fences. You must make sure that they've got water. You must make sure that the chalets are clean for people to come to the park. You must maintain the paths in the nature reserve. You must make sure that the roads are in a condition where the vehicles can drive. You must reach out to your neighboring communities so that they can benefit from the park. Okay, in a nutshell, and have good relations. That's the typical nature reserve management leg of it. And who do you find on there as well? Rangers. Okay, rangers are the guys who you'll see wearing the khakis or the green outfits. They sometimes have a bit of pepper spray or something to protect themselves. But it's to protect the estate, number one. And the sad reality is it's to stave off what we call poachers. People coming to the park to use things in an unsustainable manner. I remember all parks in South Africa, whether it's provincial park, a municipal park or a national park, it's the heritage of all South Africans. So you can't have a few individuals coming and exploiting it at the expense of everybody else, especially the neighboring communities who should derive benefit from it. That's the one part. Nature conservation, the parks.
Is the government responsible for that part?
So you have municipal nature reserves that municipalities manage. Then you've got provincial nature reserves that provincial government manages. Then you've got national parks that national government manages. You've got botanical gardens that national government manages. I'll just give you some examples. But what's nice about the South African legislation is we know that government can't do things alone. So the legislation allows for private people to also have reserves or game farms. Now that is where the other leg of environmental management, environmental protection comes in. I can't just say, Kodani, you asked that you want to manage a park, your own park, go forth and prosper. There are certain conditions that you must meet in order for government to feel comfortable that you are managing it as a park that can really be deemed a park. In other words, there's proper fencing. It plays its role for nature conservation, and that leg we call protected areas expansion in South Africa. Now that's an actual leg where people go and they are responsible for, if you have a question about having your own park, they will tell you this is what it entails, these are the conditions, that they come and they do an assessment of your park, they see, or of your land, they see if your land is something worthy of being called a nature reserve. In other words, they can't come and declare my house as a nature reserve with my yard. So there needs to be checks and balances. That part is called protected areas expansion, and it's literally what it means. Expanding the protected areas that South Africa has. Okay? Another name for it is called biodiversity stewardship. Means the same thing. Now, if you're a steward of something, it means that you look after something, you care for it. Biodiversity is a different name for all the plants and animals and their mixtures in a specific landscape. So we'll say that individual would like to participate in biodiversity stewardship. They would like to manage their own area better for the greater good. Let us go and assess their land and let us see if it meets the criteria. And if it meets it, we happily declare it. So there are some people who genuinely say, we want to play our part. We happen to have land. It happens to be in good condition. Can we participate in this program? Now, why I'm using that example is because others will recycle. Others will do environmental education. Okay, so that's the second leg of it. Third leg is what we call people and parks.
Okay.
There's an actual division
Yeah.
for people in parks. That division is exceptionally important at a national level for our country as well. You can't manage nature, broadly speaking, against people. In other words, you can't just have fences all over and say, don't come, no. Humans are part of nature. We are living on this earth.
Yeah.
We have to have access to, some people would like to have access to medicinal plants. Okay? Some people would like to have access to a nature reserve for spiritual reasons. Other people want to have access just for recreational reasons.
Yeah.
Others want to go and have a bride. Others want to go and have their birthday there. So there's this element called people and parks.
Yeah.
That is the part where you say, okay, how can people benefit from nature in a way that is good for the people and good for nature? That's the broad level.
Yeah.
Then in our country, unfortunately, many years ago, we've got a little history, but some areas were taken away from people and turned into parks. So what happens in our country is the land gets restored back to the people who it was taken from.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, in that instance, you then go into what we call a co-management agreement.
Okay.
So you manage the park as best as possible together. Okay? With the community.
Okay.
People and parks.
Yeah.
Joint management between government and the people.
Yeah.
And again, then you start looking at, okay, let's correct the wrongs of the past. The land's been restored, but maybe the land lends itself to having a hotel, not a high-rise hotel, but let's say a few nice chalets, conference facility, a nice curio shop, and a restaurant.
Yeah.
Then you start saying, okay, people, the land has been restored. How can we make this place buzz? Someone's going to say, I can make traditional this. And I can make this kind of craft, and I can make this kind of thing. So the people in parks division need to then look at bringing the people closer to the park and having some of the people's cultural activities find expression in the park again, and using the park, which is the nature, the animals and the plants, and the culture that was originally there, bringing them back together, and then using that collectively as a draw card.
Yeah.
But added to that, restoring people's dignity. Okay. Now, the one thing I'll say up front is that when the land gets restored, people don't go and live on the land again. And why that's very important for me to share that, because sometimes when people hear about the land's been restored, then they think people are going back.
Yeah.
Guys, everybody will tell you. I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
In some reserves, you've got, what do you call them? Felines. Lion as an example.
Oh, okay.
Lion, leopard, cheetah. Now, in the olden days, our great-grandparents' parents knew how to navigate around these animals. The current generation don't really know. So, it's all about finding that balance again. So, some of the older people may say, we would like to go and walk in the park and collect medicines. Then that needs to be managed in a way that is safe and sustainable. Okay. A lot of the youngsters whose offspring of the older people will say, no guys, just make sure you don't use everything, so I'm sharing that because the people in parks element of things, it's about engaging people. What are their needs, what's practical, what's not practical, how can I learn from you, how can you learn from us, how do we work together? And the reason why I said how can we learn is because there's a lot of indigenous knowledge that is part of that people in parks discipline, and sometimes that indigenous knowledge comes to the fore and it actually helps that park or that landscape to be managed better. So there's some stuff that we learn in the books, in the Western books, and there's some stuff you'll just never learn in the Western books. It's in people's heads. Therein lies, you need to have a people in parks program, engage with people, communicate with people, learn to negotiate, etc.
But do we have those, like for an example, in Eastern Cape?
Yeah, we've got a few. I can't mention them because I'm chatting to you in my personal capacity.
Yes.
But we've got a lot of provincial provincial nature reserves. We've got national parks as well in the Eastern Cape, and a couple of those have had land claims on them where they've been restored. And you can Google Eastern Cape parks, national parks in the Eastern Cape, and then you can see what comes to the fore. So there are a couple of those. The nice thing is that there's a couple of those across our country, in just about every province. so yeah.
And in order for you to qualify to own a park, what do you need?
Okay.
Just a normal person.
Okay, now the key thing is you need land. So and not like your and my yard together. You know, you need a substantial piece of land that from a scientific perspective is deemed to be ecologically viable.
So for a normal person, what do I need to own land?
Okay.
Or nature conservation, to be a nature conservator?
To be a nature conservator or to have a park?
To have a park,
Okay.
To have a park.
Okay. So to have a nature reserve, the reality is that you need land. That's the first place to start. So if you put our properties together, it won't qualify. So it needs to be a big enough landscape that is sustainable and that is ecologically sustainable. So that, I'll explain what it means now, but it brings me to the other leg of nature conservation or environmental management or environmental sciences. We've got something called scientific services. Now, the scientists, the scientific services division, they are the ones who will go out to a landscape, even a park, but let's say out to a landscape. And then they will do an assessment of the landscape. They would look at what are the plants there, how do these plants interact with each other, what are the animals there, how does it interact, how big is this land, can it house certain species, does it house certain species, does it have enough water. Now I'll use an example. A mine cannot be a park. A dump site cannot be a park. That sounds so simple, but I'm trying to give the stark opposite, to say when you drive through the country and you see some landscape that's really, you can say the grass is lush, the trees are beautiful, wow, you can even see, but this looks healthy. That can become a park, most likely. But now what I wanted to share is the scientists. If you are really good with maths, science, biology, geography, if you really like those subjects and you enjoy reading articles and investigating and exploring things, that is a nice part that's intellectually stimulating and challenging, because you start using statistics, like proper statistical models to say climate change, having done the research and having found what's happening in this landscape, we are going to model now what will probably happen to this landscape if climate change continues the way that it is now. Okay, then they can say, sure, if this part of South Africa is going to warm by 1.5 degrees Celsius, these species can't survive there. So guys, you guys responsible for protected areas expansion there, please, you need to start expanding the park in this direction so that these animals can migrate that way. So all the things I'm talking about are ultimately interconnected, and I'm simplifying it, but it's an exceptionally exciting field. Everything you do in nature conservation is sustainability. You can sleep and say, I've played my part. I'm doing my part every day.
I think Europe, basically just in general, we're moving from combustion engine to electrical engine because of also the environmental issues, pollution. So that is also another leg.
So that's it, and that's why so that was what the scientists are within the scientific discipline. Even the scientists who do nature conservation, they start to participate in discussions about green economy, green development, green technology, because these things are all interconnected ultimately. So that's the scientific side of things. Then we've got something called the regulatory side. It's a regulatory division, and that is a division, simplistically speaking, some people will say, I would like to have a sanctuary. I love animals. I want to have a sanctuary. Shame, I want to look after that little wild animal that's hurt his foot. You know, they want a sanctuary. Others will say, guys, it's important that we have some space where we'll call it a zoo. We'll have some animals, because there are some people that will never be able to go into the parks, and children will never be able to see it. We need to be able to expose them to it. Okay? Now, to have a sanctuary and to have a zoo, you and I can't just go to it, Kodani. We need to apply for a permit. We need to reach certain conditions, and that is what we call the regulatory function. Okay? Then you'll find people who work in that division, regulatory function, who will come check, Eleanor, your zoo is not complying. We give you 48 hours to 2 weeks to sort this thing out, otherwise we're going to shut you down. Why do they do that? Because you want the animals to live in a reasonable environment. So it's all again about responsibility, accountability, what is fair in the bigger scheme of things, quality of life for those animals. We spoke about it a little bit earlier, but the same thing applies to, so remember your zoo, your sanctuary, they have to get permits, but some people want to go and pick certain species that's protected in our country, and you can, provided that you get a permit, a picking permit.
You mean like to adopt, or
pick as in pick certain plants? Like let's say aloe. You cannot just go and collect aloe. You're supposed to have a permit. Okay, that's just a nice note on the side, but that's an example. So that is an example. Now the same applies to many animals. Any animal you can think. Let's say a pangolin, those ones that curl up like that. Okay. You can't just go and pick one up. They are actually deemed a threatened or protected species. Our government won't allow you to do certain things with it. But all those kind of things, like I said, they are under the division of regulatory services. And why I'm sharing that is because sometimes people would say, you know, I like nature, but maybe I also want to become a policeman. I don't know. You want to probably end up there in the regulatory part of things, because you're in nature, but you're still doing some sort of law enforcement related work. You know, so you're issuing permits, you're issuing licenses, you go out, you check what's happening. Okay, fine. Yes, you have a permit for this thing. If not, like, no, please turn around. Let's now just sort out this thing. Or please, can you buy it? This is when you can buy it. So a lot of people have those kind of personalities. Now, what's important to note is that it doesn't matter what kind of personality you have now. You can navigate through all those different parts of conservation as you grow as a person, and as you want to be exposed to different things as a person. And in life, it's important to become multi-skilled in general. You don't just know how to cook, you also know how to cook, clean the house, drive a car, take your kids to school, study. You know, you're multi-skilled. So in your career,
you also
that is what you want to grow into, because then you become a more rounded individual in your career. You start seeing things from a strategic perspective. You start seeing how things fit together, and wow, if you move that, it will improve that. If we move that, it will improve that. This links to that. And especially because people's career in general usually is about what? 40 to 45 years old, 40 to 45 years, or let's say 30 to 35 if you're lucky. But let's say you start to work when you're 20, 25, and you work until you're 65 or 60. It's a long time.
It's a long time.
And sometimes people think that they need to change careers entirely. But sometimes it's about moving around in your existing discipline and becoming multi-skilled like that, and then giving back in different ways. So that's what I've enjoyed about my career in nature conservation. I started as a little rugged ranger. I looked like a little bodybuilder. I used to fix windmills. I used to work in a national park too, for that matter. And then I was someone that had to patrol the fence on horseback, on foot. We did all sorts of things.
Sure.
Some of my colleagues graded the road. I cleaned water troughs. We did whatever we need to do. So that's why I explained to you.
With a diploma?
Yes.
Sure.
That is, remember, when you do a nature conservation diploma, you can become a ranger. You can go work in the park as a cadet ranger, you become a ranger. Then from there you convert it into a BTEC, which is equivalent to a degree. Then from there you decide, do you want to remain technical in nature conservation? Would you maybe want to combine it with a bit of sociology because you're interested in the people in park stuff? Or do you just want to apply for a position there? Because you can, and you become more part of the people in part section. And remember, when you do your diploma, there's a small element of research. When you do your degree, there's a small element of research. When you do your honors, the research gets bigger. Masters, it gets bigger. So you can then even start saying, well, I'm actually choosing to do my research on the behavior of that animal in the park. So you started off with a nature conservation diploma, or you went straight into BSc science, depending on. So sometimes I do it the other way around. Sometimes people study the science and then they're like, but I want to become involved in the day-to-day running of the park, and then they flip the other way. So it's all about your appetite, your attitude, how far you're willing to stretch yourself, what you're willing to learn, who you're willing to engage with. Then, so I used to be a ranger. From there, I became what they used to call at that time a social ecologist. But in reality, is you're a bridge between the people and the park. That's it. So then I worked with communities, right? It had an element of environmental education, a little element of tourism, and then an element of negotiating, communicating, working with elders, finding out what they need from the park, when can they access the park. So all those kind of things, it's things that I have had to learn while on the job. Because remember now, start off as a nature conservator, looking at plants and animals only, and now you're going to the people side of things. So it's a choice. Then I realized, oh, well, elders are talking about very interesting plants and things here. My grandmother used to as well, so it wasn't foreign to me. And then I said, okay, let me do a little bit of research on this part of things, brushing up on the research part of things, to the point where the research that I did, I had to go and present it internationally at the World Trade Organization. Why did I get that opportunity? Stretch yourself. Now, some people may have said, no, but I didn't do a BSc Science. I'm not good at it. No. I'm going to go and read that statistics book again that they try to teach me there. And that is all about your attitude in life. What is it that you want out of it? Because, you know, if you have a plan, an idea, a thought, just by virtue of having that, it means that you stretch yourself a little bit, and then you just say, okay, what is the first step I must take to get there? When you take the first step, you just press repeat. The next day you do another step. You just repeat. But if you look at the big thing, you go, oh, but I'll never end up there. It will overwhelm you. So think about something. Just start. Then repeat it. So whatever you want to get to, you just start building on the building blocks so you get to there. Let me just think if there's something else going through my head quickly about the various disciplines in conservation. I think those are the broad ones I gave you, but maybe it is worthwhile sharing also that we also have parks called marine protected areas. Okay, it's a nature reserve in the ocean. Okay, so it's a marine protected area. And there you have to look at, again, I'll use the easy example, off-takes. If you fish on the beach, make sure, if you're in a marine protected area, make sure that you get a permit. Okay, and obviously we do encourage our communities who have had their land restored to use the resources from the marine protected area sustainably. But what we do not want is for a fishing trawler, for example, to come in. A commercial fishing trawler to come into the marine protected area and start harvesting lots of things there that you and I buy from the shop. No. This is a marine protected area. So why I'm sharing that is because it is similar to what happens on the land, but it's also very different. To what happens on the land. Because now you're in water. So you need a boat. Let's start there. You need a boat. You need to be on the water. You need to do law enforcement from a different perspective. You need to know how to dive. You may think, I can't dive. Go try first.
I forgot about rangers at the ocean. So now that you're unpicking it backward, it makes sense.
Yes.
It makes sense.
So it's about protecting that little piece. Because the big ocean, there are many activities happening where companies would harvest the things that we buy in the shops. Let me not go into detail. It's not bad, but it needs to happen sustainably. So there are certain pockets that you need to put aside in the ocean to make sure that area is the place where the animals can come and breed and they're safe. And then some of them will leave and survive and come back, or they'll leave and they will go spawn elsewhere. And that is kind of how it works. So the marine protected area side of things is also nice. So if you're a water baby and you're interested in nature, you've got other disciplines like marine biology, etc. that's are really more marine orientated. But you could do that as well from a environmental management or nature conservator perspective. The last bit I want to share with you about nature conservation or environmental management, just as I remember the various divisions as I'm going through the discipline, is we call it environmental impact. And that environmental impact division again exists at a national, provincial and local government level. And when you and I want to build a new house, someone has to do an environmental impact assessment. What is Godani going to do there? Is there perhaps a little plant or some animal or some species that happens that exists in that area that we may or may not be aware of yet? So it sounds a bit silly, but there's something called a precautionary principle. We don't inadvertently as humans sometimes want to do things that affects the earth or us so severely, and then afterwards you go, oh, if only. So that is one of the reasons why that division exists, is to see where can we develop, what kind of development is appropriate in what kind of areas. And that's why there are various zones in a municipality. That is the industrial zone, that is the residential zone, that is the open space, that is that. And now if you take that same thinking at a higher level in the country, that's literally what happens in our country. There are certain areas that's no-go areas for good reason. There are certain areas where it says, okay, develop there, but only this kind of development. There are certain areas like, no, it's fine, bulldoze, it's right. You can mine, you can do whatever you want there. So it is about balancing things.
I'm actually relating this with like estates or complex that people are opening now. So mostly the places used to be a farm, and now a game reserve, I think. And then I think that's what you need to do, because I heard in one of the complexes around East London, like you do find this dangerous species because of what it used to be before.
And so therein lies the balance. Simple things as well, like a wetland is an area that's literally it's wet. You may not see it, or you may even see it. But think about it from the human perspective. Now you build on the wetland, people start having chest issues. They get sick because the damp rises, or there's not even a lot of rain. The house floods, So all of those things, that division looks at not sterility, no development. They look at what is appropriate. And very rarely do they say definitely no. And when they say definitely no, there's good science behind why that's a definitely no.
Yeah.
See,
I actually like how you broke it down, like different legs. It actually gives somebody who studied the same or who would like to follow into the same footsteps, and they don't know what to do after with their degrees, because we do have a lot of people stuck with a degree because they don't have the knowledge of where they can use it. So I always talk about the high unemployment rate in South Africa. It is quite high, and the other contributors are you don't know if you have a nature conservator degree where to use it. So I like the breaking down of where that can be used, the way it's applicable. So coming back to you, how did you get to your position?
So
become a managing director.
So remember, started as a ranger, moved over into the social ecology side of things.
Yes.
From there, I realized, but there are land claims. In other words, while I've heard about my own mother's land claim issues where her mother was forcibly removed from the land and all of that, it wasn't something that I could relate to. Because we grew up in now more of a suburb in Quebec. Okay. Now I went and worked in a park, and there were some people sitting outside every day outside the park. And because I am generally someone who will greet someone else, how are you? And they would, no, I'm fine, thanks. One day the one lady said to me, no, I'm fine, thank you, but I see you walking there onto my land every day. And then I said, oh, are you saying that this was your land? Yes, it was my land, and my parents were there, and I remember being removed as a child. Okay. Anyway, I engaged my employer, and then they said, no, there is in fact a land claim on this park. Oh, wow. Then I decided to start reading up a bit more on what are the land claims, what does it mean, how does it work? Oh, okay. This is what my grandmother went through as well, and my parents are attempting to assist her to restitute the land. But remember, I don't have a connection to the land that she was removed from. Okay, so I never needed to really read up about it. But now there's this thing happening at work, and I'm thinking, oh wow, but I know my parents are busy doing something now linked to land claims for my grandmother, and this lady is telling me something similar. And let me just find out a little bit more about this. Now, why am I telling you that? Because at the same time, a non-governmental organization was aware of that community trying to win back their land. Okay. And then that non-governmental organization would work with that community. And I was the bridge between the people and the park at that point in time. So I started working with this community as well. And then they said to me, this community talks about this person in the park who used to be a ranger, and now they're a bridge between the park and the people. What are your plans in life? And I said, no, I'm going to probably resign one of these days because I have to go and convert my degree to a BTech. Not my degree, my diploma to a BTech. I've thought about it, and I see there's lots of things happening in this organization that I'm working for, and I must at least convert the diploma into a BTech to have a basis to go in whatever other direction I wanted to. And obviously some people said, no, but this is a permanent job, you mustn't. But remember, I'm talking now 19 when it wasn't that bad. Okay, and I look younger for my age than I am.
Definitely.
But then I thought, no, I'll sacrifice for 1 year. I will do the diploma.
Brave.
I'll go do the. But the reason I'm telling you this, I'll sacrifice for 1 year because I started at the bottom of working in the reserve, at the bottom. Okay, with the diploma. And when I say the bottom, I mean you, the person who's going to have to take a vehicle, drive it next to the toilet in the park, connect a pipe to the toilet, and pump the sewage from the toilet into this vehicle. But now I'm talking about many years ago. Nowadays, there's an automated system. Okay, the point I'm trying to make is when you have a degree or a diploma, you don't have the experience, you can't come in at the supervisor level. You cannot get in a middle management level. You can't want to be the head of the division. you have to build the basic building blocks.
Yeah.
You have to go through that, because when you're in that division, nobody can pull the wool over your eyes.
Because you understand
you
what is
know
happening at the bottom.
everything that's happening.
Yeah.
That is the biggest benefit that I have, is I understand the system.
Yeah. And if you've seen the trend from a lot of interviews that I've done, almost everyone that is at the top is saying, I started from the bottom. So, which is quite important. We should never underestimate that. Yeah.
And the reason why I think everybody you've interviewed says that is because when you start at the bottom, you understand the significance of your discipline for the greater good.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you helicopter in, you may be helicopter in for the wrong reasons and not for where our globe is going now. We're all pulling in the same direction of sustainability. Now you know what levers to pull in your discipline because you understand it. Okay, that is where that difference comes in. Okay, so then back to the park. I decided, okay, let me go do a BTEC. Did the BTEC? Okay, great. Now I've got a degree. Parents are happy. Okay, fine. Then from there, I ended up working for this very NGO that's now helping the people. They needed someone to go to the elders of that same community and talk to the elders about what they remember about that park. Okay, the indigenous knowledge part of things.
So that's how back it goes through when people are trying to claim.
Yes. What do they know about the park? What is in the park? Where you were graves? Where were your trees of significance? How did you move? Anything you can think of. Very interesting, because what happened there is I hit a gold mine. Do you know when an older person shares their wisdom with you, you must listen. You need to listen. They've gone through certain life lessons on earth about nature and just in life that if you understand it, you don't have to go through that same difficult lesson. You get the answer for free. Okay? Now, so that's just a bit about, guys, elders, don't underestimate them.
It's the same as a workplace. You know, when the young ones get there, they feel like they know it all because they've got a degree, they learned. But the knowledge that the old people at the workplace have, like the experience that you can gain from that, it's quite important that we don't underestimate it.
Exactly. So then I worked with my nature conservation qualifications, some people and park related skills I've learned. And I worked very well with the elderly people, to the point where they then started saying to me, you know what, this one is related to that one, who's related to that one, and that one brother was removed and taken somewhere, and then they described the whole story. And then I thought, okay, let me not just write down what I'm employed to do. Let me write down everything the people are telling me. So I ended up having information about the park, the animals in the park, the plants in the park, when certain things grow in the park. Then I added another section. Now I'm not being paid for this section. Stories that they're telling me about their culture. Stories that they're telling me about who was related to who. Sections that they're telling me about this one married this one and that one was removed and the truck came and picked up those children and we heard they went that way. So that part I did not know. I was actually starting to put together some basic steps linked to genealogy that other people were busy researching that I wasn't aware of. They were trying to figure out who's related to who and where did the people go who were removed from this park those years. So when I said to my NGO, oh, I've got this, they said, oh, wow, we want you to do this now as part of your job. I said, don't worry, I'm already doing it. Why am I saying it? Going the extra mile without being asked to. Because you are gifted the opportunity. You're not being paid, it's just there. I could have easily said to the elders, I could have said, no, don't tell me about, no.
That's not what I'm
looking
for.
I'm here with plants, animals, park. I don't want to hear who was who. No. I said, because now remember it's an elder also, so you listen. And they'll tell you the same story 3 times. You don't say, but you've told me. No. You listen and you add. Because the more they repeat something, the more you understand what they're actually saying. And so that was good for me, because now I've worked for government, now I've gone into an NGO sector. Now I have a combination of pure nature conservation, with people in parks, with land claims issues, with some little bit of genealogical issues that I'm not a specialist in that at all. I just said, here you go.
But you had the information to to support
and to understand exactly. And when I spoke about, ultimately, I ended up taking research and going to the World Trade Organization overseas to present it. It was because of something I was not paid to do. Okay? I'm trying to share with people. Sometimes things come from places you don't expect it to come. And opportunities come from places you don't expect. Just because you were open to doing your best that you could in that situation. So I won't go into detail, but that is how life works. What you put in is what you get out. It's a cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason.
True.
It's because it's true. That's why it's a cliche.
Yes.
Okay, and then from there, I decided to go to another NGO where the opportunity came, and it said they're looking for someone that can help to work with communities in a conservation environment, because they would like to create a mega park. And I thought, oh, well, if that isn't for me, then I don't know. Let me apply for that position. Let me see. And what was nice is the combination of the experience that I'd built till that time, especially the indigenous knowledge part of things as well. It stood out to them to say, oh wow, but this person has technical skills, people skills, communication skills, knows a bit of the law now. Oh wow, they did this research and that's where they ended up. And needless to say, I got the job. And so then I remember how the titles change. Okay, first I was a ranger, then I was a social ecologist, then I was first an ethnobotanist for this NGO, then I became an ethnoecologist, because now they just no, ecology's got everything in it. Whatever you find, put it in. I'm like, it's fine. You can call it green chair. I'll still collect everything that I find. It's fine. Okay. Then this position was looking for a community liaison officer. Now sometimes people look at titles and they go, no, but I don't know. It's beneath me.
Have you read this book? What is it called? Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg.
No.
A lot of wisdom that she's sharing is like literally what she wrote. She's a COO of Facebook and Meta. Meta. Literally.
Oh wow, good. Maybe I should read the book.
Yes, like in the position. Sorry to cut you, but I just had to bring this out, because a lot of knowledge that she's sharing is also what she shared. So it's quite important.
Good. No, but it's good because, and that's a nice thing, because a lot of people, I mean, like the lady that you spoke about now who wrote the book, obviously she has worked herself into an area where she can now write the book and impart her learnings on people. And a lot of the times, all of us have very similar learnings that we would like to share. And that's why I use that example of the elders also. Very important. You can learn from anybody. Whether they can read or write or not. Because in actual fact, a lot of the basic foundational things I know about conservation, I learned from illiterate people. Very important to know.
Yes.
That is something critical, because what people have learned in life. I'll use a simple example. I can talk now to you about sustainability because I've learned the theoretical concepts. But one of the communities that I worked with, simple thing. Here's a plant. A normal person, sorry to say, will say, oh, I need that plant. I use the roots, the leaves, the bark, everything, the flower and the seed. Take the whole plant, okay? It's just Now, a lot of older people are just rigged for sustainability. They will need every part of that plant today, but they will say, there's a stand of plants. I'm going to look at the stand, and I know how the seasons work, and I know when these plants flower and when they drop their seeds. They don't write this stuff down. It's in their heads. And they know when the little seedlings will come the next season, and by the next season, I'll probably be able to harvest from those seedlings. And then they say, so from these few plants, I'll take a root from each of them. But I leave the plant alive.
Yes.
From those few ones, I'll take a little piece of the bark. I won't ring bark the thing and kill it, just a little piece. From those few, I'll take a few seeds. From those ones, I'll take some leaves. From those ones, I'll take some of the petals of the flower. That is authentic, sustainable utilization. Now, that's what I'm saying. Don't underestimate the old people. They know what they're talking about. Because we had to go learn about statistical models, how many animals, what do you take when, and they just lived it. So that's the joys about that. And why I veered back to that is because I'm talking about the community liaison officer position. So community liaison officer position, saw the title, and then I thought, I wonder what this is about. Let me read it. And then I saw, okay, establish a mega park, work with people, and I thought, great, let me try this thing. Went there, helped to establish the park, but now I'm not in the technical nature conservative part of things. I'm working with the community. And then I said, oh, but here's this community. A piece of land was bought. This land ultimately needs to become part of this park. But there are people living there, and they've lived there the whole time, but the park is bought it. How do we do this so that it's fair in the bigger scheme of things? So, instead of doing a funny little thing where you remove people, when your own grandmother was removed, you just came from a place where people's land's being restored, you're not going to entertain the notion of removing these people, but you're going to say to the people openly and honestly, the intention is to one day have a park here. What do you think? And then people will be honest and say, well, what will happen to us? How will it work? Some of the younger people would like to leave. The schools are far away. But some of the older people really love the place. They go harvest the honey. They harvest this. There's fresh air. What's possible? And to make a long story short there is, you treat people the way you would have treated your grandmother. That's maybe
your own family.
And you use the relevant legislation that you now have to go read up on to do that whole big mega reserve project in a responsible and sustainable manner. In other words, things that's fair to the people and the environment at the end of the day. And the reason why they wanted that mega reserve kind of a setup is because it has major catchment areas, which is areas that catches water in valleys, and then from there it goes into natural streams, and from there it goes into an area that human beings have dammed up, and then from there we've put in sluice gates, and from there it provides water to the closest town, etc., etc. So everything is connected. But you can't necessarily just quickly, we're getting rid of you because we want this. Okay, so I share that part because that community liaison officer position, because of the negotiations and more stakeholders that I needed to deal with, the position was changed to stakeholder engagement manager. You see now, after a few years, when they started saying, oh, but now she's engaging with the municipalities, she's doing that, she's engaging with the Department of Land Affairs, she's doing that, the scope is growing, we need to bring that in. They said, we'd like to retain you, we'd like to change your job title, this is what it is, this is what the scope of the work will be. I'm sharing that because now you think, a nature conservator becoming a stakeholder engagement manager. How come this thing is, what is going on here?
Why are you not dealing with nature?
Meantime, I'm doing that work within the context of establishing a mega park so that ecological processes like fresh water can be better protected because it feeds the people there, the farmers there, but further down it feeds the towns. Literally the town where the water tap opens, that water comes from that park a couple of hundred of kilometers away from where you are now. See, so that is was that job, and then from there I ended up going back into government, provincial government. Now by that time a couple of years had gone
so
past.
Before you go, we go into the provincial government, the NGOs, were they paying you good money?
they were paying me for the levels that I was employed at appropriately. Let me put it like that. Then also, because of the nature of the job that I did, I needed to stay in the park or in close proximity, which means your house is free. You're living there.
Okay.
You're not paying rent. You're not paying water, electricity. You are just there. So the good thing with me is I know the value of money, because I didn't get pocket money. So whenever that age was, you get a rand, you know what that rand means. So what's easy for me is if someone says to me, okay, at that age now, I'd like you to do this job and this is the salary. Then I would go, okay, what else comes with that salary? Now someone else will say, that's too low. No, you first ask, what else comes with it? Oh no, you will live in the park, there will be this, you will drive the organization's vehicle, you can also use it for private use, and then you sit with your pen and you go, okay, no, this salary is fine, thank you very much. You know, and so moral of that story, no knee-jerk reactions. Respond to something that you've inquired about and that you understand. That is literally it. Because sometimes people will look at something and they'll go, no, but they don't make an effort to find out a little bit more first. So and NGO work is now different from government work. Government's very structured, and NGO is very flexible. You start writing funding. Oh, there I learned how to write funding proposals because NGOs need money. You know, so there I learned how to write funding proposals. I was exposed to donors that NGO was working with, and to other national and international NGOs and donors that I would never have found but for that route. To this day, in actual fact, the position that I'm in now, we're having 2 partnerships with one of the donors we worked with those years. People have changed there, obviously. It's a huge international donor, but I sometimes sit in there and I go, life really is cyclic, you know, things come around. Why I want to share that also is, don't burn your bridges, people. Do not leave a job and turn around and throw a bomb and say cheers. No, you say thank you very much for the opportunity. I learned a lot. Now the good thing is, even all jobs has its ups and downs. That's the other reality. Relationships has its up and downs. Family relationships, partners, children have up and down. The dogs have their up and downs. You know, life is just up and down and cyclic. It just is what it is. The key thing is to navigate through it appropriately. And to also know that it is cyclic, so no one thing is constantly permanent. So going back to this, when you're in a situation at work where you feel, oh, this is uncomfortable, or I didn't expect that. The easiest way, okay, let's say you have a manager where you think, sure, but that's not right, as an example. The easiest thing to do is to say, oh, wonder when I'm in that position, I won't do that. So you learn what not to do. You're getting something from it. If you're in a job where someone is a fantastic manager, pay attention, go, wow, wonder when I'm in that position, I must do that. You know? So it's about how you look at things also. And I thought I'd throw that in because through my journey, I've obviously worked with many kinds of people. And the one thing that I can say is that every single experience that I've had, I actively choose to take all the good from every single experience I have, in anything that I could potentially perceive as, sure, that wasn't that great. I'll go, okay, what did I learn from that? I do it consciously.
Yeah.
And once I have internalized the learning, I'm like, fantastic. And 10 years later, I said, no wonder I went through that. Now people are coming for this. Now I can deal with this. This is nothing. You know? So that is it. So from there, before I came to this job, I went to Gauteng and I got into provincial government there. And by that time now, my experience and my quality. And by the way, as I was working, people, I was studying. Maybe make that clear. It wasn't just
very important.
Yeah, I was studying through the post. To this day, I'm forcing myself to do an MBA because I've decided, Eleanor, you cannot just know about people and nature. There's money involved. Maybe you must learn a little bit about the money because it's about environmental, social, and economics, the balance. And why I'm saying that is because although we are running reserves that maybe belong to government, it's a simple example, it is important to use the resources as efficiently and effectively as possible. So you need to learn about it's a simple example, but maybe some efficiencies from a economic perspective that as a nature conservator you don't get taught that. So now that I'm at the divisional level that I'm at, I have the maturity, I'll say that bluntly, and the humility to realize if you think you know it all, you can resign tomorrow. You can see things are becoming thin stretched in the country. You can see that public funds are becoming little. So it is your responsibility to make sure that you learn more about something that you never thought you had to, business, and that you brush up on some things that you thought you wouldn't have to do. For example, accountancy I didn't do at school. And now I'm saying to myself, whether you like it or not, stretch yourself.
Learn it.
Stretch.
I actually like that because I was actually going to ask, like, why are you doing the MBA if you have that position?
Stretch yourself.
Because a person would look at it as like, well, I'm here and I'm earning a certain amount of money, so I would just sit and enjoy my money. But I like the fact that you say learning doesn't stop.
And true sustainability. True sustainability. So I can say to you, and I said it to you earlier, no, the job of nature conservation is fantastic. We can, all in nature conservation, we can say we've played our part for the world. But true sustainability is generally about finding that position where the earth, people, and the finances that we have on this earth, none of it is worse off. They almost have a reasonable balance the whole time. You know? And sometimes the one will jut out a little bit above the other one, but in the bigger scheme of things, it must just remain a sustainable, healthy system from all perspectives. And why I thought I'd repeat that is because there's in some countries has gone through recession. So we can't do that. Those of us in leadership positions, when we know we've got shortcomings, go and brush up. It's your responsibility. And like I said to you earlier, with responsibility comes accountability. So I decided it's time for you to hold yourself accountable and to brush up on your business skills.
There's quite a lot of questions I want to ask, but looking at the time, where to from now? Like your position, do you have any plans of going to another position?
So I'm an interesting character when it comes to that. I believe that, one step back. What is your purpose in life? People must just ask themselves, and what makes them happy? Because you spend 8 hours and when you get into executive level management position, 12 to 13 hours per day in a certain discipline, work. You see your work colleagues more than you see your family. That's true. I'm talking about on the Monday to Friday scenario. That's just a general statement. So try to find out what makes you happy or what is your purpose. So for me, remember I told you the dog story, jumping over the fence, and going there and playing in nature. So I've got an affinity to it. So it makes me happy, whether I am working in a reserve or doing the administration in head office, that I am playing part towards sustainability.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And I believe that part of my purpose is to help us on this earth navigate through this bump that we are experiencing. So it gives me spiritual joy to do my work.
Yeah.
So the challenges is like, no, but go away. I'm loving this thing. You must go back, go away. So, and why I'm saying that is because when you enjoy what you do, the challenges are they're little blips in the road, and it's part of normal things. It's like having your children.
Yeah.
You enjoy your children, and when they're naughty, you're like, oh, this is the child, but you love the child. You know, it's nice. And coming back to your question, because I enjoy my work so much and it makes me feel happy, I am very lucky in the sense that I would usually find a job when I'm not actively looking. For example, I would maybe buy the Sunday Times or something like that, and then I'll go, oh, this job looks interesting. And then I'll discuss it with my spouse, obviously after I got married, or before that, just look at it and say, oh, that could be a logical next step. That makes sense. Let me find out a little bit more about it. And just about every job I've applied for, I've gotten. And why I'm sharing that with you, not everybody has that journey. I just think I'm lucky. The where to from now is it will come. It will come when it's supposed to come. So I'm not sitting and looking and waiting and where to from now. All I know is that the way to will be in a direction that I feel serves my higher purpose for existence on this earth. I must play my part in helping us to navigate through the ecological and environmental and sustainability challenges that we're going through. And I'm happy to do it because it almost feeds my spirit.
Okay. You sound like somebody who also does a lot of mentorship. So if somebody wants to become your mentee, are you open to that? The reason I'm asking, I do get a lot of people asking, oh, I saw you interviewed this person. Can I please get in contact with them? I would like to get mentored.
So what I'm going to have to share with you this time around is, luckily, you know, I'm doing an MBA.
Yeah.
So life at this point in time is not my own. But from next year, after I graduate, I will gladly mentor anybody who's interested in it. Because part of what's also happened with me in life is people come, even at my work now, they'll come and they'll ask things. And I believe the same way that people generously shared with me when I asked, when I was younger, you for the lack of a better term, you pay it forward. So I've been doing that in any event. So I do a bit of informal mentoring at work currently, very informal, but it's fine. When I was younger, I had people also come and ask me for certain things. And interestingly enough, December last year, end of the financial year, March this year, I just knew it was the end of the year. But December last year, we started talking about it. I spoke to my direct reports and I said to them, colleagues, you are senior managers in government and there's me and you, and we are the top management team for this division. And between us, we know a lot of things. So how about we go on a mentorship course and a coaching course, so that perhaps from next year, which will now be from now, this year, even if it's not formal, maybe 4 times a year only, we have a Zoom session, and we invite all our middle managers to attend that meeting. So let us all reflect on what our strengths are. And it doesn't have to be a curriculum, but if you are good with marine protected areas, management in people and parks, let's have a session that day. And you do a little bit of a lecture, and you talk, and we just have a session. And how about all of us do that? And it was just one or two of the gentlemen that said, how will it work? What must we do? How will it work? And it's just asking. And then I said, how it will work, I don't know. But what I know is that if all of us go for the same training to get a similar understanding of what is possible, then maybe from there we see. And then we all went for it. And all of them then said, this is actually nice, we can do an informal thing. So that's one of my things this year.
Oh, that's great.
What I'm sharing with you is because mentoring can happen in many ways. It can happen informally, like it's happening currently with some people popping into my office and asking certain things. And now I'm wanting to do, let's say, an extended informal mentoring thing with myself and my senior management team with the staff. And later on, if HR wants to develop a formal mentoring program, go
then
for it.
Can happen.
But just by virtue of having learned things, having been exposed to things, I think, I wouldn't say it's your responsibility, but it is kind to avail yourself, to be assisted, because somewhere along the line, you may not think it, you may genuinely believe that you got to where you are totally on your own, but the likelihood of that is very, very slim. Somewhere someone guided you, helped you, lent a hand. So let's give back. And I'm saying that because it's similar, it's in a similar vein of protecting the earth, nurturing the earth, sustainability. Let's do that with our peers, our colleagues. It's important. It really is important. So you can definitely give me a shout next year.
No, I'll definitely.
And I will tell you, Kodani, I have graduated. I am available.
Oh my gosh, So thank you so much for allowing me to do the interview. Is there a question that you think should have asked? This is literally my favorite question because we're from like different worlds, and sometimes I would think that we covered everything, but it's always important to also find out if there is a question that you think is important for the people that are watching to know, and then if there is, how would you have answered it?
Well, I think I've actually already answered that now in this last conversation that we've had. Because sometimes when you have these kind of engagements and interviews, it's always just around the job, and it's never about the softer skills in life. And people are sometimes scared to talk about this other element of spiritual fulfillment or your purpose in life. And if I had to ask you, if I had to say to you, there's a question you should have asked me, I would have said to you, okay, maybe you could have asked me, why did I get into this career? Okay, and maybe at the beginning, I don't know, but I would have said to you, and as I said, I think I've already answered this one. It's because it is strongly aligned with my core being. It makes me happy, and that is the bit that I think is important for people. And now, the from a young age bit is the bit I actually want to get into, because now after this interview, and maybe because of your topic, maybe you'll make the topic nature conservator or environmental manager, whatever. But if you listen to the path that I went through, the actual discipline that I'm involved in is huge. And when I say huge, I mean, yes, it has the banner of having worked within the environmental sector, but all the things I did in between, from learning a little bit about the law, speaking to the elders, people in parks, social things, now business things, I am realizing that once I figured out my purpose, which I kind of think I know, I must equip myself with the necessary learnings, experiences, and tools to do justice to that purpose. And my answer to your question is, I know we're talking about careers, but I do believe it's important for everybody to reflect on what is my purpose on earth. And if I could do a job that would fulfill my purpose, what would it be?
Yes.
Because then it won't be a job. You would be doing something that fills you every single day.
True.
And when you sit back when you're 80, 90, you'll probably be able to go like, this was a good run. Thank you, God.
I fulfilled my purpose.
Yeah.
Yes.
So and we don't talk about it, It's almost like it's a no, but so on the one hand we extremely say everybody has a purpose. And on the other hand, we don't want to talk about it. Yeah. But when you genuinely say to someone, what is your purpose? A lot of people will go, I actually don't know.
Yeah.
And it's okay. But it's just about starting and thinking about what would make me happy. And why I'm saying that is because sometimes someone may think, I want to become a this. But then when they sit, and then maybe it's something as simple as, I really want to help kids. Like I really want to help kids. Now, it doesn't matter that you then ended up studying accountancy, as an example. But who knows? Maybe you can do pro bono work at an NGO that helps children. Yeah. And so I'm trying to say that doing things towards fulfilling your purpose is a big thing for everybody, for your own balance, for your own health, psychological health. And I'm lucky that my job helps you to fulfill my purpose. But if you're young enough and you can get into it immediately, fantastic. If you are already studying law, but you maybe wanted to help in the medical fraternity, I'm just using it as an example. Yeah. It's okay. Study your law. Finish your law. I guarantee that there's a link between law and medicine somewhere. Go find it.
My next question was going to be, how does one find their purpose? But I think you answered it, that don't look at a career just as a career that you won't be able to fulfill your purpose. Go and find it. Right?
Yes. Okay. And if you're already in a career, and that's the other thing, if you're already in a career, look at how that career links to certain things. You see, because the key is things aren't as isolated as we make it out to be. If you sit there, you'll go, okay, so this actually links like that in that way. And it just takes a bit of effort to go and find the link. That's why I use that extreme example now to say, if someone is a lawyer and they say, yes, I really would have loved to just become a nurse and help people. Well, maybe if you scratch around a bit, look around a bit, Google a bit, check to some people, you may very well end up helping people either from a medical perspective or just helping them that fills that purpose for you, that need for you to want to help people, know. So it's about the lens you use to look at something, and how you can change the lens for it to work for you. So there's no one set of eyes to look through and say that is what it is. It's up to you
how you want to
look and turn and adjust and say okay. And have vision. Cliche. Dream big. Cliche.
Wow.
Do that.
A lot of knowledge was shared today, and I also learned a lot. So thank you so much again. Highly, highly appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. I love giving back to people, and let's build each other. So thanks for your service that you are doing. I think it's absolutely amazing. And to everybody listening, you're gonna make it. It's just about you taking it and running with it. It's totally possible.
Find your purpose.
Find it.
Very important. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment for engagement. If you would like to ask your questions, please comment. Ciao, bye bye.
Cheerio.